Good morning. Is it still morning? Good morning. How are you all today? I want to thank Charlotte and Nina and Kenny and all of you for having me here today. I can't tell you how honored I am to really be here with all of you. And to be honest, when Charlotte first asked me to participate in this conference, I wasn't really sure what a Bioneer was. And I was talking to my boss, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go, and I'm going to speak at the Bioneer conference. And she was like, well, what's a Bioneer? And I was like, I started to break down the word. And then I was like, maybe I should look it up. So I did. And because I was way too embarrassed to ask Charlotte, so I figured I needed to look it up. And I saw that a Bioneer is an innovator whose key purpose is to serve human ends without harming the web of life. And I was like, okay, all right, innovator, I like that. And then I saw that a Bioneer is guided by the principles of kinship, cooperation, diversity, symbiosis, and cycles of continuous creation, all with the goal of leaving a legacy for future generations. That is pretty heavy. And so after educating myself on what a Bioneer was, that's when I truly became honored to have been asked to join you all today, not as myself, Roxanne Brown, but as a representative for the United Steelworkers Union, but also the Blue-Green Alliance, because each of these organizations seek to be innovators. They're guided by similar principles and without a doubt have a common goal of leaving a legacy for future generations. And I really have to say that almost every morning I have to pinch myself because I can't believe how lucky I am to be a part of two critically important movements. Two movements that were not only necessary and important parts of our nation's past, but remain absolutely necessary for our future. First, the labor movement, and second, the movement to make our world a safer place for us and our future. I hail from the capital city of Kingston on the small island of Jamaica. Woo! Any Jamaicans? Woo! Okay. Sorry. And in 1978, my family made the difficult yet necessary decision to immigrate to the United States, specifically to New York, and they spent years assimilating into a new way of living and a new way of being. I don't know how many fellow immigrants we have in the audience today, but watching my family make this transition with the many challenges, the sacrifices, and the struggles that came with it was my very first lesson in sustainability. And by that, I mean economic sustainability, which is one of the major things we fight for on behalf of our members and America's working men and women in the labor movement, and one of the things that I imagine is a big part of the conversation we will have at this conference this weekend, as it's a big part of leaving a legacy for future generations. Ensuring that there is some means for Americans each day to earn a living, whether you are a steel worker, a paper worker, a teacher, a scientist, a business owner, or a farmer. Some way to allow you to put food on your family's table, send your kids to school, and maybe, just maybe, retire one day. This is still the American dream. It's what brought my family here and countless others, and it's what countless men and women hope and wish for each day across this country. So watching my family's quest for economic sustainability was a lesson I've never forgotten. And I should actually probably tell you all that I come from a family of women. And while there are some men, because we wouldn't be here without the men, the people who made the decision to come to the United States were the matriarchs of my family. Very strong-willed and, dare I say, stubborn Jamaican women, who my husband lovingly referred to as the generals. These women started out as house cleaners and babysitters, but as the years went on, they eventually became nurses and dietary aides, all with the sole purpose of ensuring stability for their family and securing a sustainable economic future for the next generation, me, my cousins, and my siblings. I'm incredibly proud to have had the example these women provided. They were my innovators. These were the people who taught me the importance of kinship, working cooperatively, and about cycles of continuous creation. So each day, I have the distinct privilege, because it is a privilege, to represent people like the women in my family. Everyday Americans who are fighting like hell for economic security, retirement security, safer workplaces, and safer communities to raise their families. Unfortunately, as we all know, and as Charlotte just talked about, and we're seeing more and more each day, the deck has become stacked against the American worker. The unemployment rate remains high at 9.1%, essentially unchanged since April. The number of long-term unemployed, those without a job for more than 27 weeks, was 6.2 million in September and accounted for 44.6% of the unemployed. The number of discouraged workers, which I can't believe is actually an official term because I imagine that many workers or non-workers are discouraged right now, but the official discouraged workers number is at 1 million. And discouraged workers are people who are not currently looking for work because they believe no jobs are available for them. Construction, which has seen little improvement since February, experienced a minor bump in September. Wages are stagnant, foreclosures are a common occurrence, and real productive investment in US-based industry is severely missing in action. We are a nation staggering out of the deepest recession since the Great Depression, and for manufacturing, which is the sector the bulk of my members work in, the last 3 years have been added misery to a decade-long decline as we've seen 6 million manufacturing jobs lost over the last 10 years. All of this is made worse by trade policies that fail American businesses and workers, as well as the increased and consistent attacks on public sector workers in states across the country. Something has gone terribly wrong. But what has remained consistent and what we see growing in cities across the country with occupations from Wall Street to Memphis is the stubborn determinations of Americans to not take it. You saw today in New York, 1,000 union members stood up and told Mayor Bloomberg to take a hike. They stood up in New York, and they're standing up all across the country, and they are saying, we refuse to give up on the notion of the American dream. We will not be moved, and God help those who stand in our way. This week in Washington, we saw the blocking of a jobs bill that is beyond overdue for millions of people across the country. We saw the passage of 3 new trade agreements that will no doubt lead to additional people seeking unemployment. And we say, enough is enough. Enough. If only our fight were limited to the plight faced by America's working men and women, we're also seeing broad sweeping attacks on the critical policies that govern our nation's air and water. This at a time when the occurrence of climate change is no longer a notion, but a very real thing, as we've seen its potential impact several times over the last few years, from floods to hurricanes. We're also seeing direct attacks on the promise of a clean energy future and the policies like a renewable energy standard that would help us get there. The recent opposition to investing in clean energy technologies like wind, solar, and biomass has reached a frenetic level as more and more claims that green jobs are a fallacy that should be abandoned in the US. All these calls to leave the possibility for US innovation and ingenuity in this sector behind and cede it to other nations like China and India, who continue to invest daily and heavily in their clean energy economies. As I said, something has gone terribly wrong. I'd like to say that when our union and the Sierra Club formed the Blue-Green Alliance in 2006, that it was a preemptive measure because we saw all of these attacks coming. Some we did see, but others are so egregious we couldn't even have imagined. What Leo Gerard, our union's international president, Carl Pope, former executive director of the Sierra Club, and David Foster, the executive director of the Blue-Green Alliance, did see was the need to change the debate about the relationship between good jobs and a clean environment. As Leo often says, we will have both or we will have neither. Our union has a proud, more than 40-year history of working with environmental groups like the Sierra Club to advance those policies that make our workplaces, communities, water, and air safer. We strongly believe that well-crafted environmental policies and regulations can exist alongside good, family-sustaining jobs, and even more, they can lead to the creation of good jobs and a sustainable future for our children. The platform we established for the Blue-Green Alliance in 2006 was good jobs, clean environment, green economy. This remains our platform today, and we recognize its critical importance now more than ever. We view the joint challenges of high unemployment and environmental degradation as a chance to turn these crises into opportunity. Today, the Alliance has grown to 14 partners and includes the Communication Workers of America, Natural Resources Defense Council, Service Employees International Union, National Wildlife Federation, Laborers International Union of North America, Union of Concerned Scientists, Utility Workers of America, American Federation of Teachers, Amalgamated Transit Union, Sheet Metal Workers, Auto Workers, and the United Food and Commercial Workers. And all of us together unite more than 14 million people across the country. We are united in our quest for good jobs and a clean environment, and the promise of a clean energy future holds immeasurable opportunities for us. For our union, the nation's largest manufacturing union, we want to ensure the development and deployment of clean energy technologies like wind and solar. And we also want to ensure that the technologies used here are built here and made using the thousands of component parts like steel, aluminum, cement, and glass made by our members every single day. For the laborers, a clean energy economy means installing weatherization projects across the country. For members of SEIU, it means ensuring the use of green chemicals to protect their health, but also ensuring the safety of their working environment. For the utility workers, it means workers employed at a utility that generates some or all of its electricity from biomass energy. And the list goes on and on. Getting there, though, is a challenge. We all worked together to advance a comprehensive climate bill a few years back that would not only have put our country on the path to reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, but could also have led to the creation and preservation of millions of clean energy jobs. Now, in the absence of that, our alliance is looking at getting there by working to advance the various policies on the state and federal levels that are needed, like an RES, investment in transportation infrastructure, water infrastructure, industrial energy efficiency, grid modernization, and advanced automotive. We are actively engaged in a campaign called Jobs 21 in an effort to create millions of jobs for the 21st century clean energy economy. It's a nationwide grassroots campaign with a foothold in 9 states, including California, and the campaign takes this message of the need for sustainable clean energy jobs for our present and future to town halls jointly held by the blue and green partners of our alliance, and also includes letters to the editor, op-eds, local resolutions, a pledge, and the platform has been shaped into a bill in DC that we're all going to be working shortly. So if you want to learn more about Jobs 21, make sure you visit the Blue-Green Alliance's website and sign our pledge and join us. And it's just bluegreenalliance.org/jobs21. So I can't tell you how proud I am to serve on the steering committee of the Blue-Green Alliance, but even more, how proud I am to see how much it's grown over the years. I still remember Dave Foster and I meeting on the Hill in the very early stages of the Alliance to introduce it to members of Congress. Now, BGA staff has grown to more than 40 people, of which Charlotte Brody is a proud member, and this amazing growth has not been without some pain. After all, the tensions that have historically existed between the blues and the greens around issues like coal and nuclear, they still exist. But what makes our alliance so powerful is that it creates a forum to put all things on the table, allowing us to educate each other about where we're coming from on a particular issue in a constructive and non-combative way. These are the times when there are times when we realize that there can't be a meeting of minds on a certain issue, but at least we all know where we stand. And that is a beautiful thing, because we all leave the table eager to work together on the many things that we do agree on. A great example I like to use when I talk about the blues and the greens working together is around a bill called the Employer Free Choice Act that was our top priority in labor, and it's a labor law reform bill. And the Sierra Club decided that they were going to take this bill on and advance it along with us. And so they have a building on Capitol Hill, and they took a huge banner and covered their entire building with this banner with working people on it that says, "The Sierra Club supports America's workers and supports the Employer Free Choice Act." And they took to the Hill, knocking on doors of members of Congress, talking about why it is they supported the Employer Free Choice Act. And after the looks, they got from the members kind of died down, like, what the hell is the Sierra Club doing talking to me about working people? What do they know about working people? Some of them said that out loud. The Sierra Club informed them that union workplaces are inherently safer workplaces, and safer workplaces mean safer communities. And that was it. So while we didn't succeed with the Employer Free Choice Act, having the Sierra Club there at our sides, working to advance this bill, would not have, we wouldn't have been able to fight as hard as we did. And so we were really happy to have them. So brothers and sisters, because you are my brothers and sisters, the fight wages on. And not only is our union ready to fight, but the Blue-Green Alliance and all 14 million of the people we collectively represent are ready to fight as well. But the question I have for you guys is, are you? This will be the fight of our lives, but I have to tell you that we will not back down. We won't back down from the promise of the American dream. We won't back down from the promise of family-sustaining jobs. We won't back down from the promise of a clean and healthy environment. And we won't back down from the promise of a clean energy future. After all, we are the innovators, guided by key principles to ensure a legacy for future generations, all right? So now I know this is not an audience of steelworkers, but I get the sense that you guys can be rowdy like us. So at this year's convention, our theme around these fights was Stand Up, Fight Back. So I'm going to close by showing you a video we made for our convention this year entitled The Fighting Spirit. But before I show it, I wonder if you guys can give me a little steelworker energy. So when I say stand up, you're going to say, stand up, stand up. Thank you so much. Enjoy the video.
I know many Americans have questions tonight. How did we reach this point in our economy? And what does this mean for your financial future? These are good questions, and they deserve clear answers.
You know, sometimes you just don't see it coming. How did we go from some of the best times in the history of our great union to this? The highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression. Tens of thousands of factories closed in the United States and Canada. Millions of hard-working folks losing their homes. I'll tell you how. A bunch of billionaire suits who think a day's work is moving money from one pocket to another created one hell of a mess. The fraud, the manipulation, the greed, they got away with it. Yet, we're still paying the price. They created a crisis that shook souls and destroyed dreams, threatened to take out entire countries. It almost took us out.
Almost.
Let's get something straight. This isn't a party. What we have is a movement. Always has been, always will be. We're not just fighters, we're survivors. For 120 years, we've had to fight for every single thing we've got. Nobody ever gave us a damn thing. 40-hour work weeks, overtime pay, health care, safety, pensions, the right to collectively bargain, even our lunch breaks. All these things were fought for by those who came before us. Some had to hide, some bled, and some even died. But they all had something in common. They stood and fought together for each other, for us. Because they knew, if not them, then who? We know how to fight. It's in our blood. It's who we are. And this union, we don't just fight, we lead. In the United States, in Canada, in Mexico, Europe, Africa, and all around the world.
Because if not us, then who?
We do real work, hard work. Making real things. Doing real things. We're strong. We're smart.
We're men
and women of steel.
Part of being a fighter, a winner, is taking blows, getting up and fighting back. There's something deep inside each and every one of us.
A desire,
A dream.
A vision.
The fighting spirit. We're standing up against attacks that are stronger, more sustained, more spread out than ever before.
Parce que si c'est pas nous autres, alors ce sera qui?
We're fighting greedy CEOs, corporations that put profits over people, and the politicians they bought and paid for. And they want nothing more than to knock us out. But do we just lie there, give up, let them take what we've spent generations building?
No.
No.
Hell no.
Victories are never guaranteed. But one thing's for sure. If we don't get in the fights, stay in the fights, we most certainly will lose. And we're no losers.
We're sisters.
We're brothers.
We're family.
We are the United Steelworkers.
We stand up and we fight back.